Hello, gentle viewers, and welcome to You've Got News? Today's topic of discussion is hydraulic fracturing, or as most students know it as, fracking. You may not know exactly what fracking is, but don't worry, we'll get there. Our two focus states in today's episode are New York and Pennsylvania. So join us now as we start your educational magic carpet ride through this steamy political, health, and environmental issue.
Fracturing is a drilling technique which involves injecting toxic chemicals, sand, and millions of gallons of water under high pressure directly into the ground to release natural gas in shale deposits. This mixture of toxins and sediment, along with any natural gas released, can leak to the surface and enter rivers and groundwater in the process. Some of the largest shale deposits of this kind are found in the Marcellus Shale, a huge geological formation underneath Ohio, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, as well as New York. Oil and gas companies are eager to exploit it. Tragedies due to unregulated fracturing, including flammable tap water in Colorado, methane explosions in West Virginia, and poisoned water in Pennsylvania, are just some of the problems due to fracking. In 1947, Standard Oil conducted the first experimental fracturing in the Hugoton field located in southwestern Kansas. The treatment utilized napalm, which is a gelled gas, and sand from the Arkansas River. Since Standard Oil introduced hydraulic fracking, close to 2.5 million fracture treatments have been performed worldwide. Some believe that approximately 60% of wells have been or are being fractured. Fracturing can be traced back to the 1860s, when liquid nitroglycerin was used to stimulate shallow, hard rock wells in Pennsylvania, New York, Kentucky, and West Virginia. Wells are fractured 6 to 20 times.
Now that you have a general understanding of what fracking is, there are bigger questions that come into play. The first of which that comes to mind is, why are we still harvesting fossil fuels? There is clear data that strongly suggests that our consumption of fossil fuels cannot continue at this rate. It's a puzzling question with no satisfactory answer. Well, let's take a look at what fracking is actually doing to our environment.
According to the Energy Information Administration, shale gas plays, or fields, in the United States, mostly in West Virginia, New York, and Texas. It is said that those three states contain enough natural gas to power the country for 110 years. The Federal Energy Policy Act of 2005 contained a provision that has come to be known as the Halliburton loophole, an exemption for gas drilling and extraction from requirements in the Underground Injection Control Program of the Safe Drinking Water Act. Other exemptions are also present in the Clean Air Act and the Clean Water Act. In June of 2011, Texas became the first state to pass a law requiring companies to disclose what chemicals are being shot into the ground of each well.
This isn't making much sense now, is it? Well, buckle your seatbelts, it's about to get a lot worse. Not only is fracking affecting the environment, but it's having an extremely negative impact on innocent Americans. From health hazards to loss of property with little or no compensation. Let's take a look at what is being inflicted upon these poor fracking victims in New York and Pennsylvania.
Between 6,000 to 600,000 gallons of water are being pumped into the ground for hydrofracking. But that's not the only thing being pumped into the ground. Benzene, ethylchloroglycol, methane, boric acid, as well as gamma-emitting isotopes are being pumped into the ground. The chemicals being pumped into the ground during hydrofracking have terrible side effects. Benzene causes cancer and bone marrow failure. Ethylene glycol is found in antifreeze and causes death. Methane is highly toxic. Boric acid causes kidney damage and death. And gamma-emitting isotopes are radioactive and can cause cancer. The list goes on and on. Fracking fluids can contain chemicals linked to breast cancer. It has been recorded that earthquakes have been happening more frequently in fracking locations in Ohio and Arkansas.
You may be asking yourself, how can people blatantly sabotage these unsuspecting residents of such fine states? Well, the only answer that we here at You've Got News could come up with is the gluttony and complete disregard of corporate douchebags. Let's dive deeper now into this ocean of corporate debauchery.
The health conditions of fracking victims in Denmark, Pennsylvania are sad. Not only do they have the possibility of their water catching on fire and see the value of their homes decrease 90%, they also have to have water brought to them for their own use. Actor and founder of WaterDefense.org, Mark Ruffalo, states, "Water is a universal necessity and a right. It's downright shameful that the state agency that is supposed to protect the health and well-being of citizens would instead protect the corporation that caused this. Thankfully, citizens from across this region and the country are stepping forward to help the residents of Denmark in their time of need." Act 13 is a new bill that states, under a new law, doctors in Pennsylvania can access information on the chemicals that are involved with fracking. Only thing is that they cannot share this information with their patients. The doctors will be required to sign confidentiality agreements in order to find out the components in their quest to treat sick people. Also, in this bill, gas companies want the right to drill anywhere, overturn local zoning laws, and seize private homes.
There may be some hope for the victims of fracking in Pennsylvania and New York, but sadly, only time will tell. I hope this has given you all some hearty food for thought, because god damn am I stuffed. I've hoped you enjoyed this episode and learned a lot from it. I'm your host, Meg Griffin, and tune in next week for a fantastic new episode on cyborg samurai squids. Yeah, I know, right? The real question is, do they get sunburns? We may never know. You'll never know if you don't tune in. Well, have a fantastic evening from everyone here at You've Got News.